Hey, what's up, everybody? Gonna do a classic rock reaction, man. This is Led Zeppelin. Recently, with Led Zeppelin, I've concluded and finished their studio album reactions, and so now I'm on to, I guess, kind of like gray area of their stuff that is not either very well known or has not been released. Most of these items or most of these tracks are instrumentals, and they have not made it all the way to being turned into songs, so they're incomplete in one respect or another. But anyway, the thing that separates them together is the fact that they're not very well known. So I'm going to take the time to explore some of these tracks, mainly instrumentals, and then I'll move on to my live Led Zeppelin stuff. So, with that said, I'm going to be doing a reaction to a track called Saint Tristan's Sword, and then I'm also going to react to a track called Swan Song. I heard of Swan Song and I was thinking it's their label, but I didn't realize that there was actually a track called Swan Song. So it's going to be quite interesting, man. Looking forward to that. Now, before I pop this off, I just want to give a shout out and a thanks very much to Two Beer. Two Beer, otherwise known as Pete. I call him Two Beer Pete. Pete, thanks very much, man. I appreciate you sending me these links. I'm definitely looking forward to it. Their instrumentals still have all of the signature sounds of Led Zeppelin, the thunder and all of the other elements, you know. So it's all good. So, man, first track, Saint Tristan's Sword. All right, Saint Tristan's Sword, Led Zeppelin. Let's get it. Just the two Johns can make you want to get up and dance. Background track at a party or something like that. Liven up a social gathering, a dull social gathering. What a funky groove, man. I'm visualizing. This is something that they get into in order to give Robert a cigarette break or something like that. Great jam. Great jam. Definitely an excellent showcase of their skills, of their signature sound, of the way they can jam together, groove together, trade off. Every single instrument had its moment here. Fantastic. Gonna echo what I said last little while in regards to Led Zeppelin, could have had a very successful career just with their instrumental tracks alone. They would be very, very successful. Now, I don't know if it would put them over as rock gods. I don't think so. I think they needed Plant for that. So on two sides of the same thought, they would have been fantastic and very successful just with rock instrumentals like this. Plant comes along though, and he helps to put them over the top, and now they are rock gods. Rock superstars without Plant, rock gods with Plant, but their instrumentals and their talent, man, is just fantastic. They've got a good blending of being able to jam, drop some thunder, add some really, really excellent groove licks. John Paul Jones, he's my favorite bassist. I can skirt around and I can try not to be, so he's my favorite bassist, man. He's got a way of playing it doesn't steal the show, but he is just so present in his style. He's got little licks, little grooves that fits in between, and you notice him being there. That is a masterful musician behind that bass. And I talk about Jimmy Page being able to almost talk to you with his guitar. Same thing with Jones. Same thing with Bonham. These guys, man, it's a wonder. 100 years later, people are going to be talking about the wonder of these four guys getting together. Individually, they're masters in themselves, but when you put them together, it's just an incredible elixir. And I am still in awe of that mixing. I'm still in awe of that pairing up, coming together. You take one of these guys out and replace them with someone else, the shit is not the same. And I'm telling you, man, that is gonna forever be the biggest element of fascination to me about Led Zeppelin, is the pairing of these four extraordinary individuals and bringing them together. Because there was a time where they were threatened with not being together. I remember that I believe it was members of The Who with Jimmy Page and someone else who was looking at forming a band. And even as great as that would be, it would not compare and be as good as this pairing. These four specific guys were paired so well and created such a masterful sound that, it would be unrivaled by anyone else. You know what I'm talking about? And you can say the same for every supergroup. Neil Peart of Rush. You can't separate Neil Peart from Rush. You know what I'm saying? It wouldn't be the same. Same with John Bonham's, so every single band that's reached a great measure of success has reached that upon the backs of the great, unique pairing and the talents of their individual players. Put them together, that magic elixir starts to stir, and there you go. You've got fantastic, fantastic music, and none more greater than that of Led Zeppelin, definitely. So, yeah, man, John Paul Jones. If you put a gun to my head, yeah, he's my favorite bassist. If you really, really press me, he might be my favorite among the four, but don't press me. So, let us do a little background, man. This was an excellent jam. Holy cow. As it's playing, I'm thinking about so many ways that it can be applied. So many different scenarios, liven up a dull-ass social gathering, get a party started, your next business meeting, if you're in some stuffy old office with a bunch of people you can't stand, have this playing in the background a little bit, There's just so many excellent uses for it. And I'm also wondering too how it would have sounded had there been vocals added to it. It would have definitely been really remarkable. I mean, by itself it's remarkable, but adding vocals to it would turn it into a really masterful jam, masterful song, I'm guessing. Adding the likes of Plant's vocals to it, I imagine. Maybe it's not too late. Maybe we can find a way to get them to add vocals to it and make a cut. That'd be cool. All right, so excellent jam, man. Let's get a little background on these tunes and find out specifically why they weren't completed. All right. St. Tristan's Sword. Okay, it's more album info here than song info, but a little bit. So, St. Tristan's Sword appears on the Led Zeppelin Deluxe Edition. The Led Zeppelin Deluxe Edition is a series of albums reissued by English rock group Led Zeppelin, distributed by Atlantic Records. It contains all 9 of the original Led Zeppelin studio albums, remastered from the original analog tapes. Along with the remastered albums, there is a companion disc with each album consisting of previously unreleased audio tracks and alternate mixes of release tracks. Many of these are described as work in progress or alternate mixes made during the original production rather than new mixes generated to highlight discarded recording elements, as did the remixes made for the Beatles anthology. In other words, incomplete. Song info. This rock instrumental was recorded during sessions for Led Zeppelin 3, but remained unreleased until 2015, when it was included on the deluxe reissue version of Coda. Jimmy Page told Mojo, quote, "St. Tristan's Sword is the sort of thing that we do when we were playing live. Not that that track came out from a live thing, but we'd be doing stuff like that, veering off into something, and then come back into the main part of the song. I'd had the riff and the changes to that, and I thought, let's just try it. There are 2 takes of it, and that's it. Then we moved on to something else. But it's got a little charm of its own. On this version of Coda, it works. It might not have ever come out otherwise," unquote. Jimmy Page. The song was recorded in the same session as Gallows Pole and features a similar sounding drum tone. Yeah, I can hear that. I can see that. There is no actual St. Tristan. However, the tragic story of the Arthurian knight Tristan's adulterous love for the Irish Princess Iseult predates and is most likely influenced the famous romantic tale of Lancelot and Guinevere. Yeah, Lancelot and Guinevere. So how does it go now with my King Arthur history? Lancelot, no, a great knight was envisioned by Merlin and foretold. And so Lancelot comes along, all handsome, dashing, and a fantastic fighter and all of this sort of thing, steals the king's wife Guinevere. Turns out that Merlin was wrong in his vision. He was right in his vision, but it was the wrong knight. The knight that he envisioned was Sir Galahad, that being Lancelot's son, not the father. It was the son that was foreseen. Easy case of mistaken identity, seeing that the son looked exactly like the father and all of that sort of thing in his vision. I remember that much from my King Arthur reads. Alright, yeah man, when did I first read King Arthur? I think I was 11 or 12. Only remember bits. Album releases. The first companion album consists of the 10th of October 69 concert in Paris. The albums were released in chronological order, each with inverted album covers. The first wave of albums, Led Zeppelin 1, 2, 3, was released on the 2nd of June in 2014. The second wave of albums, Led Zeppelin 4, Houses of the Holy, was released on the 27th of October in 2014. Physical Graffiti was released on the 23rd of February 2015, almost exactly 40 years to the day after the original release. The fourth and final wave of albums, Presence, In Through the Outdoor, and Coda, was released on the 31st of July in 2015. Okay, man. So that concludes our Wikipedia Song Fact info on this excellent tune, and also album information, the Led Zeppelin Deluxe Edition. Alright, so let's check out our next track, man, that being Swan Song. Led Zeppelin, Swan Song. Let's get it. Excellent. That was excellent. It's like a folk rock jam. They could have extended that for a decent 20 minutes, man. Yo, that was awesome. Again, low down dirty shame that these guys didn't have the chance to put together just an instrumental rock album. That would have been the shit, let me tell you. And it would have been very, very highly anticipated. Knowing what Led Zeppelin is capable of, that would have been really, really cool. And even if they didn't have Robert Plant from the very, very get, just basically go through the process without the instrumentals, they would have been very, very successful rock stars. With Plant, they're elevated to God status. Yo, excellent. That was an excellent jam. Swan Song. So it isn't just a label, it's actually a song too. And two, of course you're thinking, how would it have sounded if they actually went ahead and turned it into an actual song, added the vocals to it? Would have been really cool. It would have had a nice element of a, maybe not as far and away feel as No Quarter or Achilles' Last Stand, but it would have definitely had that feel where it would fit well into or among the songs of Led Zeppelin 3, I'm thinking. Folksy acoustic, right in behind Gallows Pole or something like that. Yo, man, excellent. They can go in so many different directions with their stuff, Gotta give them props for that. Their versatility, their range. I think it's probably one of the biggest reasons why there's so much jealousy of Led Zeppelin. It's because of what they can do, where they can go, and you can get up in the morning being Led Zeppelin members, literally flip a coin to decide what kind of sound you're going to want to create. If people know that you are capable of all that, there's jealousy and there's hate, and I'm sure that they had a lot of wolves smiling in their faces, but stabbing them behind the back, just because of what they were capable of, their talent and whatnot. I believe that. Probably, especially Jimmy Page, with his creativity, I bet you he had, well, of course, a lot of people, smiling in his face, telling him how much he's adored and loved, but I bet you that he had a lot of people who disliked him. Why? Just because he was that damn good. He was that damn talented. I'm talking about fellow musicians as well. What do you think of that? Am I a little bit over the top with that assessment? Let me know about that. I'm not just thinking about Rolling Stone. They obviously had a serious axe to grind with Led Zeppelin. How dare they? They got to fall in line and let us manage and handle their media coverage and that sort of thing. How dare they shut the door out on us? That was very, very obvious. But I'm talking about the enemies that you are not aware of that are keeping you very, very close. The ones smiling in your face. You know how the song goes. The OJ song, right? Yeah, man. All right. So, this tune here, there's an article attached to it. And this article was sent to me by one of my, I think one of my very, very first subscribers on my classic rock platform, Tina Curtis. Tina, thank you very much. I appreciate you sending me this. It's entitled Swan Song, The Secret History of Led Zeppelin's Lost Masterpiece. And this is from loudersound.com. The article is by Dave Lewis of Classic Rock, dated December 1st, 2012. So, yeah, it's a decent sized article. Let's see how much of it we can read. It looks like it's about 10 paragraphs. If it's interesting, we'll keep reading. If it's not, I'll just stop somewhere. All right, so Dave Lewis says, Jimmy Page dug up several unheard gems for the recent Led Zeppelin reissues. But there's one song that still remains unreleased, Swan Song. The fertile sessions for Led Zeppelin's Physical Graffiti album produced a number of landmark songs, including In My Time of Dying and Kashmir. And among them was another track that had the potential to be a Zeppelin classic. An ambitious virtuoso instrumental titled Swan Song. It was sketched out and partially recorded during the album sessions, but frustratingly never completed, even though, like many of his ideas, Jimmy Page would not quite let it rest. The seeds of Swan Song were sown in early '74 when Zeppelin reconvened to begin work on physical graffiti at the Headley Grange, the 18th century workhouse in Hampshire where they had recorded their fourth album. The band had endured a crisis the previous autumn when John Paul Jones announced that he was fed up with the relentless touring and was planning to quit the band. He even suggested, albeit with his tongue firmly in his cheek, that he was considering becoming choirmaster at Winchester Cathedral. It took all the efforts of manager Peter Grant to talk him out of it. But by the time the four band members got back together, they were once again firing on all cylinders. Reunited, they began pooling ideas. Some of the tracks were assembled in... Okay, this is a quote here. Somebody's speaking now. Quote, "Some of the tracks we assembled in our old-fashioned way of running through a track and realizing before we knew it that we had stumbled on something completely different," recalled Robert Plant. By contrast, Page had grand plans for a lengthy new track he was calling Swan Song. The guitarist had already plotted out the instrumental piece at his home studio in Plumpton Place, East Sussex. Even at that early stage, his vision was clear. According to Page, it featured a number of sections and orchestrated overdubs. The track was broken up into sections, two of which were recorded in late February '74 and which can be heard on various Zeppelin bootlegs and on YouTube. The first part opens with Page's drifting acoustic guitar before John Paul Jones' John Bonham rhythm section kicks in with sure-footed syncopation that characterized their greatest work. The second segment commences with Page again, leading off, his descending riff hinting at the song's majestic potential. Tantalizingly, he would later reveal that this epic in waiting would not necessarily have remained a purely instrumental track. There were plans to add other sections and even lyrics. Yeah, that would have been the shit. So why did they leave the piece unfinished? The simple truth is that Zeppelin's creativity was at an all-time high during the physical graffiti sessions. Give me a sec, somebody's at my door. Be right back. Okay, I'm back. Where did I leave off? So why did they leave the piece unfinished? The simple truth is that Zeppelin's creativity was at an all-time high during the physical graffiti sessions. At the same time, they had also been working on 10 Years Gone, another lengthy track that incorporated similar guitar orchestration. Faced with an abundance of quality material, they could afford to leave Swan Song for another time. Consequently, it was 10 Years Gone that ended up on physical graffiti. 10 Years Gone, damn man. That's surely among my favorite Led Zeppelin songs. But the Swan Song story didn't end there. Zeppelin were planning to launch their own label, and rumors abound that it would be called Shag or Slut Records, a lewd reference to their notorious on-the-road antics. Instead, at a press reception in New York on May the 7th in '74, it was announced that the new label would be called Swan Song, after their unfinished song. Quote, "I've been recording this long instrumental, and somebody shouted, 'What's the title?' revealed Page. I shouted back, 'Swan Song,' and everybody stopped and said, 'What a good name that would be for the album.' From there, it got carried over to being the name for our label." Unquote. Never one to let go of a good idea, Page talked about returning to the incomplete song to finish it off. Quote, "I've spoken before about a long piece I'd written," he said in '76. "I wanted to orchestrate the guitar and put it through various treatments. The original idea was to have 4 sections coming back to the same theme each time. There would be 4 separate melody lines dealing with the seasons. Robert will do the lyrics. I know I can work the whole thing out from the trial runs I've laid down. It's a really exciting prospect, unquote. Damn, man. That would have been the shit, let me tell you. Page continued to incorporate elements of Swan Song into his live improvisational piece, White Summer, Black Mountainside, during Zeppelin's 77 tour. It would reappear again during the band's Nebworth shows in 1979, and even as late as their final European tour in 1980. Had Zeppelin not disbanded following the death of John Bonham on September 25, 1980, there's every chance that Page would have gone back to work on the song in the studio. Yeah, momentum was lost there. But even that wasn't the end of his great lost opus. Page's first major live appearance following the dissolution of Zeppelin was as part of an all-star 9-date US tour in '83 in aid of the Arms charity to help multiple sclerosis-stricken ex-Small Faces bassist Ronnie Lane. With Paul Rodgers on vocals, Page performed a lengthy song called Bird on a Wing, which featured some chord structures that clearly dated back to Swan Song. Yeah, Page and Paul Rodgers. That's the Firm. I gotta hit up their material. That's gonna come when I get into Zeppelin's solo works. That's long after their live stuff. Got so much of their live stuff to hit up. So yeah, that's a decent 6 to 9 months away, something like that. By the time Page and Rodgers formed their blues rock supergroup, The Firm, it had been revisited once again. Quote, it was reworked with Paul Rodgers, who supplied some inspired lyrics, and it became Midnight Moonlight, said Page, referring to the song, which closed The Firm's self-titled album in '85. Today, Swan Song has passed into Zepp legend as one of the band's great lost masterpieces, albeit one that has tantalizingly filtered into the ether in various incarnations. As with other unfinished Zepp treasures such as Sugar Mama and Fire, it's difficult not to wonder how significant Swan Song would have become had they actually finished it. Yeah, man, absolutely. It would have been a great jam. Good article, man. Dave Lewis of Classic Rock. And this article can be found on loudersound.com. Excellent. Tina, thank you, man. That was an excellent read. All right. So that concludes these 2 excellent instrumental tracks. Holy cow. They could have done so much with just their instrumentals alone. But yeah, man, with the vocals of Robert Plant, these guys just, they could not be stopped. They were a force. How's that saying in their bio goes? As influential in the 70s as the Beatles were in the 60s? Yo, man. That is an incredible mark to have on your legacy, on your resume. So, I'm just checking out my notes here. Yeah, so where Zeppelin is concerned, I'm going to continue doing a little exploration. It's a fun little thing that I'm doing here, uncovering a lot of their unfinished stuff, a lot of their unrefined stuff. Just a couple of days ago, I did a complimentary quad, and I don't know, I'll try and see if I can upload it to YouTube. That is tough. Led Zeppelin is still the toughest stuff where it comes to copyright and all that. We'll see what happens with this reaction. But yeah, if you see this reaction on YouTube, I'll try my best within the next probably I'd say about a week to 2. My Patreon content is about a week to 2 weeks ahead of my YouTube posts, so we'll see how that goes. So I'll finish all of the unfinished tracks, all of the lost tracks, and then I'm going to move on to Led Zeppelin's live stuff. Believe it or not, I still have tracks to finish from The Song Remains the Same, man. I got to do Nebworth, I got to do all of their different live stuff, BBC sessions. Then at the end of the year, I made a promise around the holiday season. I'll finally get to the O2. I'll do the whole complete concert. Not in one sitting, I'll break it up, but I'll do the whole complete concert from beginning to end. Then I'm going to get onto their solo works. By the time I hit up their solo works, will probably be well into the new year. And I'll hit up their solo works, maybe starting with Plant. We'll see. That's the plan going forward where Led Zeppelin is concerned. So there's a whole ton of Led Zeppelin still to follow. There was something else about Led Zeppelin I wanted to say. I'm going to remember as soon as I turn the camera off. I can't remember now. But yeah, man, hey, these guys, masterful musicians. Yeah, oh, actually, I do remember now. That part about almost losing Jones. So that really happened. I thought that he was just having thoughts, but he literally actually had one foot out the door. My gosh, that would have changed their sound completely. And at that point in time, at the height of their career, sorry, I'm trying to go back to the article as to what time it was. They were at their creative peak. Was it 74? I believe it's 74. So at the height of your greatness, brother, you want to pull the pin? Hell no. Yeah, I am betting you it took some serious roughing up from Peter Grant to get him to stay. It's like, no way, man. You are part of one of the greatest rock bands that there ever will be. Your ass is not leaving. You are going to have to suck it up, and you're staying. He might have said something like that. I don't know what he said, but whatever he did, I'm glad that he managed to convince him, because that would have been a tragedy at that point in time to lose Jones, to lose any one of those members, man. All right, so Peter Grant, the fifth member of Led Zeppelin, man. Great guy. All right, so that is my reaction, man, to these excellent jams from Led Zeppelin. Definitely, if you guys have more, keep them coming. And thank you again, to Beer, for sending me these. If you hadn't have sent them to me, I would have been unaware. So thank you very much. If you are aware of stuff that I haven't reacted to, don't just sit on it. Send the shit to me. All right. And I'll definitely do a reaction. All right, man. Thank you. Have a good one. Take care. And I'll see you in my next Zeppelin reaction. Peace.